So for just joining us, we've gone ahead, we've gotten everything to the n squared side, we've factored, and we think we have these two answers, but we're not absolutely sure, are both of these going to work? So here's how I normally am going to tackle this. I can do a little side work. I might do it in my head. I might jot it down in the blank space. It depends. But I'm going to try these out. So like, let's say I try the 3 out. My original problem was 12 minus n, the square root of that, equals n. So I'm going to plug in 3's where the n's go and see if this works. So the question becomes, since 12 minus 3 is 9, does the square root of 9 equal 3? Yeah, okay, that one works. So then I try it with the other one. So I'm like, okay, so 12 minus my n value is negative 4, and be over here as well. Minus and negative makes this plus. So 12 plus 4. Does the square root of 16 equal negative 4? Not the negative, though. So that doesn't work. So that answer doesn't work. Yesterday we used the words extraneous solution, an answer that I did all my work right, but it doesn't work. That's an extraneous solution. So you're like, okay, but you talked about the calculator. You haven't done any of that yet. Okay, so I'll quit wasting time here. We'll do the calculator part. If I want to do this on the calculator, I'm going to go to the y equals part. And I'm going to type each side of the equation in from the original. So I'm going to type in the square root of 12 minus, and I don't have n in this case, I'm going to use x. And then for the second line, I'm going to use the other side, which is just the variable term, or just x. So one side of the equation per line. And once I do that, I'm going to hit graph, because I want to look at this first. Oops, hang on a minute, I got to fix my window. Try that again. Ah! These things are not supposed to happen when you're in the middle of recording a lesson. Okay, so I look at this and I notice they cross in one place. So that lets me know there's going to be one answer, in this case that works, not two. But here's the way I can really do it. If I do the table, second graph, and I go down to where x is 3, notice the y values are the same. If the y values are the same for any x value, that x value is an answer. So if I'd go up to negative 4, which I thought was my other answer, 4 and negative 4, but they're not the same. They're close, but close doesn't count. So that's how I could use the calculator to find this. It lets me visually see how many solutions there are by where they intersect, and then I can use the table to tell me exactly where those answers are going to be. Now, does that mean that for every single problem you ever see like this, now you're just going to go to the calculator? No, because when we get to the test, there will be parts that say algebraically find the solution, and there will be other places that just say solve, where you can do it any way you want. So if you want to do it with the calculator only, you can, but you still have to have another means or ways of doing this. Now, is factoring going to be the only algebraic way? No. We're going to talk about the other way right now. Again, once my radical's alone, we can square both sides. The squared and the square root are opposites, or inverses. And just like we did on number 1, I want all the terms on the x squared side. So I'm going to do opposites to make that happen. And again, if you can take care of this part in your head without showing that step, I'm not going to jump up and down and scream, but just make sure that you're switching signs when you're going about doing it that way. Okay, so if you are pro-factoring when it's a diamond, go ahead and factor it. You'll get the right answer or answers. You'll be fine. If you are not pro-factoring, you're like, no, factoring, hate it, don't like it, even though I got to deal with it sometime, I can use the quadratic formula. So if I'm going to use the quadratic formula, and And again, we've had that on several note sheets and in different places. If you want me to, I probably can jot it on a sideboard here when we get done. But I can work this out, so just kind of follow along with me for now. So it's the opposite of b, so it'd be positive 10 plus or minus the square root of b squared, don't forget your parentheses, minus 4 times a times c all over 2a. And again, when we get into a testing situation, the formula will be there, on there, so you won't have to worry about having that all in your brain. But like I've mentioned before when we've done some of these, if I'm going to go to the calculator to simplify what's underneath, I normally don't use the square root right away. I just go ahead and type in the stuff that's underneath so I don't run into sign issues or parenthesis issues or stuff like that. Oh, that turned out nice. And that's nice because the square root of 4 comes out nice. It's 2. So I'm like, okay, so 10 plus or minus 2 over 2. But don't leave it that way. You can actually get the answers here. I want answers. So 10 plus 2 is 12. 12 divided by 2 is 6. 10 minus 2 is 8. 8 divided by 2 is 4. But again, don't just assume they both work. We saw in number 1 that isn't necessarily the case. So I got to do it one of two ways. I either can mathematically plug the 6 back in for x, see if it works, plug the 4 back in, see if it works, or I can use the calculator. So, like we did before, and you don't have to do them both ways every time. I just keep doing them all these different ways so you can see how it works and see how you want to do it. But if I was doing it, okay, if I plug the 6 in here, I'd have the square root of negative 24. 10 times 6 is 60. And then x is 6. So does the square root of 36 equal 6? Yes. Okay, so that one works. And I do the same thing with the 4. 10 times 4 is 40. Equals x, which is 4. Add those up. Does the square root of 16 equal 4? It does. So I get 2 answers. But again, if you like being able to play with the calculator, or you don't trust that you're going to type things in right on this, I can absolutely still use the calculator to get my double check here. Again, I just type in each side of the equation. Oops, I probably should get my parenthesis in there just in case. I don't think that's going to burn me though. So I go to look at the graph. Now this is a little trickier to see because you're like, well, does it hit one spot? Does it go through 2? I really can't see. That's why we like the table. Because as I go towards what I think the answers are, yep, 4 and 4, okay. And these values, as long as they're the same, they don't have to be the same number as the x. Like these might be 6 and 6, and this is 4. That's okay. But again, I get to 6, I see the same y values. So I'm good, okay? So there's lots of ways to do it, lots of ways to check is what I'm getting at. So if there's one way that doesn't, work real well for you, well then don't do it that way. Okay, find another way and work it that way. Now, there are some twists and turns to this though, even though that basically those two covered most of what we're going to do. Okay, my radicals alone, I'm feeling good. Those are opposites. I write this down. Now I got to be careful. I can't just distribute the squared. We talked about this yesterday. K minus 11 squared means there's 2 of them, which means I have to FOIL or box this out. So again, depending on your methodology here, I like the box because it organizes things. And I'm going to pop a K minus 11 on each side of that. And so when I'm filling the box, I'm multiplying the terms on the sides. times k is k squared. Okay, not 2k, k squared. K times negative 11 is negative 11k. Negative 11k. And negative times negative is a positive 121. And so now to get my right side cleaned up, I got k squared. Remember, once the box is filled, we're just combining like terms, okay? Just adding and subtracting, no multiplying. Negative 11 and negative 11 is negative 22k plus 121. Now it's like the other problems we've been doing up above. I still need to get all of my k terms, all my terms on the k squared side, excuse me. So we do opposites to accomplish our goal. And the goal here at first is to make sure I got 0 on one side, because that's the only way either of my methods are going to be successful. And once I get to this step, again, it's your choice. Do I factor? Do I, use the quadratic formula, or did I just graph it back to the beginning? Some of you are like, I graphed it already. Okay. This will be, the next one will graph right away, and we'll see if we can figure out the answer right off the bat. Here, I'll just keep mixing it up here. I'm going to go back to factoring. Because again, with diamonds, we should be able to handle these. I'm looking to multiply to 56, positive 56. Add to a negative 15. So it tells me both signs are negative, because negative times negative is positive. So two numbers, multiply to 56 and add to 15. 8 and 7. And again, my actual solutions come from doing the opposites. So 8 and 7. But before you circle them, let's see if they both work or how this is going to go. So again, I go back to the original. So 65 minus 7x and x minus 11. And I hit graph. And I look at that and I'm like, those don't look like they're crossing. Like maybe they cross over here or something, but that's kind of weird. Because my answers are supposed to be 7 and 8. Well, let's look at the table. See what's going on here. 7. Ooh, 4 and negative 4. They're not the same. Okay, so 7, no good. Let me go to 8. Uh-oh. 3 and negative 3. They're not the same either. Both my answers don't work because they never cross. So if you get two answers and neither work, that's a possibility. So you're like, wait, so I can get one answer, I can get two answers, or I can get 0 answers. Yes. So whether you're going to use the calculator to check or you're going to use algebra to check, you got to do one or the other, because you're never going to know if your answers are actually working or not. So now, on 4, this will be the last one I play with. Let's try the calculator right away. And then maybe we use the math to back it up. So let's see here. When I go to type this in, I do have to be cautious though. Okay, the x, that's not a big deal. The second one, if you're using one of the silver calculators, okay, it looks a little more like the one I've got on the screen. You want to make sure you close your parenthesis after the -2 and then hit +2. If you have one of the yellow type ones, okay, where you don't see the parentheses, when you get to the -2 part, you need to hit the right arrow, and that'll get you out of the radical. So you can put your +2 and it doesn't all look like it's underneath. Because if it all stays underneath, you're going to get a different answer. So once I get those two things typed in, I'm going to hit graph. Definitely looks like they cross this time. So let's look at the chart here. Oh, there we go. Oh, 6, 6, 6. No thanks. But, okay. So it looks like the answer is 6. So if I've looked on my calculator and that looks like the answer, I'd just check this algebraically and be done. I wouldn't even bother doing the quadratic or the other formula. So I'd be like, okay, let's see if this works. 6 equals 3 times 6 minus 2 plus 2. And again, that plus 2 is outside of your radical. So let's see, 18 minus 2 is 16. I think we're looking good here. Square root of 16 is 4. Is 4 plus 2 6? It is. I'm good. Okay, that's a legitimate way to do these. But you still need to have one of the other two tools available to you. You need to know how to do it with factoring of the quadratic formula, because I'm not going to let you do every single one of these when they pop up be with the calculator. I'm just saying. Some of you are kind of sitting there grinning right now going, you forgot the assignment. We're not going to have one. No, I didn't. Okay. What we're going to do today, because tomorrow there's going to be a worksheet where it's kind of mix and match between the different types. But for today, we're going to go book style. Now, before some of you go crazy, because I know how much some of you love the book, keep yourself in mind here. It's 5 problems, so it's not like a huge assignment. And they're even all on the same page. So with one quick click of the phone, you know, you can have the whole page just sitting there and not have to even stare at the book for longer than like 10 seconds. So not a bad deal. There is a key up front, so you can check as you go. But if you're having issues, let me know. Or maybe this cleans some things up. And maybe you try using some of this on yesterday's stuff. And hey, not a bad idea. So we will get to that.